So today's presentation is unlocking your revenue potential, your checklist to optimize your law firm's billing. So let's just jump into it. My name's Joyce Bradford. Hi. Nice to be with you here today. I am an attorney. I'm licensed in North Carolina. There's my license right back there. I've been in and around practice management and legal tech since 2011. I've been in legal tech sales since, 2018. And before that, it was practice management and consultation related things, mixed in with a little bit of CLE. So teaching lawyers about technology, teaching paralegals about technology, understanding how to offer evaluation for a business. So someone can either come in as a new partner or sell their practice or just get started and understanding what resources you have to leverage. That's been part and parcel of my career for quite a long time now. I love what I do. I'm very, very lucky to be in an industry that I enjoy so much and that I found so much fulfillment from for so many years now. So let's talk about today, the objectives. When you signed up for today's webinar, they are robust. So we're going to get a thorough understanding of the key components involved in an optimized billing process. Really, what we want to talk about here is making sure that we're actually collecting the revenue that we intend to collect, right? Is everything recorded the way that it needs to be? Is it recorded in such a way that we can effectively communicate with our clients and then receive the funds, right? We're going to talk about practical strategies and techniques to improve billing accuracy and to reduce billing disputes. If you are having billing disputes, you need to sign up for TimeSolve today if you have not already done so, and you need to use the tools that we are going to talk about today to make sure that those don't happen to you again in the future, right? Billing disputes almost always come from a lack of clarity between the scope of work and what the client believes you should actually be doing, right? and what the client believes you've actually done for them. It's very rarely related to an actual outcome of something. That's a much harder thing to dispute, but a billing dispute is challenging, and we can overcome that. And then we're going to leverage some technology and some automation tools to reduce the administrative burdens. That's really what we want to do here. The overwhelming majority of lawyers in the United States happen to be in solo and small firm offices. It stands to reason that the majority of you in today's presentation are part of a solo or a small firm practice. So we're going to talk about how we can reduce that administrative burden with the idea that we're reducing it for you specifically. Yes, if you are in a larger firm, we can reduce the burden for your staff too. But for most of us, this is a very personal conversation that we're going to have. So that's really what we're trying to get out of today. But here's how we're going to do it. We're going to talk about accurate record keeping, process improvements, setting SMART goals for your firm, and leveraging technology. In each one of these sections, we're going to have actionable things that you need to do today, this week, this month. Today's presentation is kind of the end of the month, right? So we're going to maybe next month, but in the next 30 days, we're going to get this done, right? So accurate record keeping really and truly is the most essential component in billing, in reducing billing disputes, and having clients that are willing to pay, in billing with accuracy, and reducing your process in your pre-bill review. So some folks sit there and actually review their pre-bills. They print them off and do it. Some people do it online. But if you are keeping your records clean and accurate and reviewing them on a regular basis, you won't have to do a lot of work in your pre-bill process, right? And you'll be able to go immediately from pre-bills into the actual invoicing process, right? And that's going to take us into process improvement. It does not matter if you just went through this 3 weeks ago or if you haven't been through this at all in your firm. Processes can always be improved in a law firm. And it is important that as we go into today's presentation, you commit to consistent improvement in your law firm. You cannot fix everything today. And chances are there's more than one thing that needs to be managed in your firm, that you've got a process that needs to be improved. You cannot change everything today and make everything a success overnight. but continuous small changes will yield large results. And that's what we need to commit to, understanding that this is it's a marathon and not a sprint. We're going to talk about setting goals for your law office, and we're going to talk about SMART goals and what those look like for a law firm. We're going to have some specific examples there, and we're going to talk about how to actually define a SMART goal. So yes, a checklist is important, but more important for you specifically is how to improve your law firm. And then we're going to talk about leveraging technology and some specific tools that we can integrate within TimeSolve, really that you should integrate everywhere, but specifically that integration within TimeSolve to ensure that you're reducing errors, that you are moving through your billing process as quickly and successfully as possible. All right, I'm going to come back to some of these pieces here, but I want to talk about accurate record keeping. There is absolutely nothing more important in your firm than accurately billing your clients. Your letterhead is less important. Your greeting when people walk in the door, less important. Whether you say thank you or you're welcome or my pleasure, less important than accurate record keeping. Okay, you need to automate every possible transaction to ensure accuracy of your records. This is just crucial, folks. It is just crucial. So what does this mean? In TimeSolve, you have the ability to have your timers go directly to your billing, and we're going to circle back to that. I don't want to get too deep into this first section because I have an entire other slide devoted just to this part, but I do want to share with you that if you are not recording your time, if you aren't going back on at the end of the day, maybe even multiple times a day, and then again at the end of the week to understand what you've done for your clients and putting those notes somewhere, whether you put actual time on your matters or not, you need to be recording the tasks that you do in order to successfully maintain your client files and provide client service. When you get to the point where you are actually billing your clients for the services that you provided, you will not have billing disputes if you can go through and say, I did these things for you. It is less about output and more about effort, right? And I know that sounds crazy because people don't hire us for effort, right? They hire us for output. That's what they need to see. But in a billing dispute, the effort is almost always what is called into question. And you need to track that right now. You need to not only as a sword and a shield against malpractice claims, against billing disputes, against any claim in front of the state bar, right? It's also a great way for you to understand which one of your practice areas, which one of your particular services that you're providing is truly worth it, right? So understanding how much time you're spending in adoption matters versus divorces, if you have a family law practice, that makes a difference. Which one of those is more profitable for you? What's your fee for each one of these practice areas? How much are you actually collecting, right? Maybe you're doing one as a passion project. Okay, that's totally fine. But you as a business owner need to understand that. And you cannot understand the effort you put into each one of your practice areas unless you have accurate record keeping. You cannot defend the work that you've done for your client and the fees that you're charging without accurate record keeping. It matters. And you need to automate as many of these transactions as possible. I've got a lovely list of the things that we can automate directly in TimeSolve just to eliminate a lot of the waste that you're probably experiencing right now. I also desperately want you to make sure that your QuickBooks is synced. TimeSolve has the best QuickBooks sync in the market. No one does it better because it's bi-directional. Most practice management solutions have a push out into QuickBooks. TimeSolve actually has a receiving line back into QuickBooks. So when you make a change, when you record something in TimeSolve, every product in the market that connects to QuickBooks is going to put it in QuickBooks. But when you change that file, that client record in QuickBooks, most solutions do not make that change back in your practice management tool. TimeSolve actually pushes that change back out of QuickBooks into TimeSolve. So it's a lot less error prone than the other solutions that you're going to see out there. So make sure you have that sync turned on, because the last thing I want you to do is double data entry and putting information in two separate programs, logging into two separate programs, maybe using two separate screens, recording payment that came in. Here's a good example. Client pays you by credit card through a non-synced, maybe even non-legal specific payment processor. Maybe it's your bank credit card processor. Maybe it's Square or Venmo or Cash App or something like that. Maybe you've decided that you want to be sneaky and are getting people to pay you with a PayPal link as friends and family so they can't get a clawback. Not a good idea, folks, but if you are, you would not be the first to do that. But let's say you receive money into your bank account or your PayPal account. That money's transferred from PayPal to your bank account, right? After you authorize that transaction. But now, what is this payment related to? Well, in most solutions, you'd have to record that payment. It's here, break it out to your individual client sub-accounts in QuickBooks, and then also record it in your process, in your time and billing solution. That's not TimeSolve. TimeSolve makes that much, much easier. Once you identify where it should be in QuickBooks, it pushes that information back over to TimeSolve. It eliminates a massive pain in the butt headache for whoever is doing your bookkeeping, if that's you or someone else. Next piece is I want to talk to you about timers. And I want you to use those in the app, which means I want you to log into TimeSolve and on the web and use your solution there. You also have TimeSolve directly on your desktop. So if you aren't connected to the internet, you can use it there as well. Okay. No matter where you are, you have the ability to work for your clients and record your time. And folks, you need to keep a timer running. I don't care if it's billable time, non-billable time, no charge time. If it's admin time that you've associated with an administrative matter for your business, you need to be recording your time. And I know that that feels like you're getting into the minutia, but I am telling you, you cannot understand the value of your effort. You cannot understand where you have the opportunity to leverage yourself as a resource until you see the effort that you are putting into these other pieces. So just do it for 3 days. If you can't do it for a week, if you can't do it for 21 days, just do it for 3 days and see where you're spending your time. I also want you to use your dashboards to verify that time is entered and synced over to billing. So you have these wonderful financial reports directly within TimeSolve. There's a lovely financial dashboard that's actually one of our newer features that if you aren't using it, you should be using it, right? And if you're new to TimeSolve, it's one of the things that you absolutely need to see on a demo. But what I want you to see, what I definitely want you to see, is how much time you are entering on a daily basis. If you have a staff, how much time they are entering on a daily basis, right? And I want you to make sure that those time cards are being pushed over and being recorded to a matter as part of that pre-bill workflow on a regular basis. I don't want time cards sitting open, not posted to a matter for a whole week. That's crazy sauce, guys. That's crazy sauce. If you need to record that same task multiple times, then you need to record it multiple times, and you need to differentiate what you are doing in each one of those sessions that you're working on this. But a single timer should not be open for more than a week. When it gets that long, it gets rather dubious, and it's hard to tell everything that you've done anyway, and it does become less defensible than you want it to be. And I truly do want you to embrace the idea of multiple timers. Of course, one clock can run at a time, but being able to move back and forth between tasks and just say, I'm on this now. I have an administrative clock running. I'm going to turn on my administrative clock now. I know that I'm going to work on these 3 matters today. I already have time cards open for these guys. Boom, make it easy. Eliminate some of the work, have multiple timers open within TimeSolve, and move back and forth between them. Again, this is about recording every single bit of time that you possibly can. All right, so when I say automate every transaction, this is what I mean. I want you to have evergreen retainers for anyone who has money in trust that you bill against. I want you to automatically bill to keep those evergreen retainers furbished, right? You can do this in TimeSolve. You can have an automatic recurring billing system to keep money in that evergreen retainer at a specific point that you then bill against. That means that money's sitting there. It's not yours. You don't get it until you have recorded time and you've earned it. It moves from trust into your operating account, but it's earned money at that point. You keep your trust account clean, you keep your operating account clean at that with that methodology. If you do not take evergreen retainers, if that's not part of your process, then you need to set up recurring billing. Recurring billing occurs when you do not have money in trust account and you need to receive money for work that has been completed, for money that's owed to you for services rendered, right? When you set up recurring billing, you generate an invoice for your client. You have the ability to either generate invoices on a flat fee, a contingency fee, or an hourly fee. For recurring billing, you're either looking at, in most cases, a flat fee, a month to month. This is what we're going to charge you, or an hourly rate. Right? So you are going to have a payment methodology on file, and we will talk about time-solved pay in a moment, but you're going to reoccurring on a month-to-month basis, reoccurring, you are going to bill that same client on that payment method that they have on file. That absolves your staff of having to chase things down, right? The client will get an invoice saying this is the amount that's going to be billed. You have a certain number of days to pay it on a different method if you'd like to pay it some other way. Otherwise, we're going to bill the credit card that we have on file. All of us who have automated billing have this same process set up, but we as lawyers have been slow. We've been reluctant to engage in this, but I am telling you, this is the wave of the future. This is how we reduce our staff's time in generating invoice after invoice, reminder after reminder, calling people, tracking things down. This is how we get out of the business of collection. I don't want to do that. If you are in the business of collection and you have outstanding accounts receivable, you have invoices that are overdue by 30, 60, 90 days, then you need to set up payment plans. This is very similar to recurring billing in TimeSolve. It allows you to determine a specific amount that will be billed every month against an outstanding invoice or total value of a set of invoices for a particular client. And that, again, billing method that's on file is charged a specific amount month over month over month until the balance is zero. It's a great way to just say, client, I get it. You've had a hard time paying. You don't have the $5,500 that's due. You don't have the $24,000 that's due. Not a big deal. We are going to set this up so we have a recurring process, and we're going to figure out what you can pay. These can be as customized to your clients as you would like them to be. They are beautiful within TimeSolve and extremely easy to set up. And then again, when we're talking about automation, I want you to use the dashboards. I don't want you to have to run a million customized reports. I don't want you to have to figure out how to pull all of this data. Use the dashboards that are there for you that have already been curated for lawyers, right? On how lawyers do business. Use your financial dashboards, use your matter dashboards, look at your client ledgers, look at your total books, but use those reports within TimeSolve. Automate every transaction and every report you possibly can. All right, next piece here is I want you to commit to process improvements, right? So after we've gone through this piece where we're saying, I'm going to automate these things, here are some checklist items, right? I'm going to either turn on evergreen retainers or I'm going to turn on recurring payments, one of those two things for my current clients, and I'm going to turn on payment plans for my clients that have overdue accounts that I just need to collect, right? There's a nice little action item for you. But next, I want you to think about process improvements in your law firm overall. 3 things I want you to really think about here is onboarding, client communication, and payment for services. So let's start with onboarding. How clients become clients sets the tone for the entire professional relationship. I want you to consistently use email templates, identifying who their point of contact is, what the expectations are for them as a client, and what the expectations are for you as a firm. Now, you might think to yourself, okay, well, my scope of representation agreement and my welcome letter says, thank you, Mrs. Smith, for choosing Jones and Jones Law Firm. We're happy to represent you on your, whatever matter it happens to be. We've agreed to this hourly rate. We're going to bill you at this particular interval. Here's a description of the scope of services that we're going to provide so we can make sure that we are at least reasonably limited in scope, right? Here's when we expect to commence service on your file, and please return any documents for signature that we've sent home with you, right? Pretty straightforward, boilerplate stuff most of the time, right? I want you to think about that, but I also want you to add how you expect someone to behave as a client. If I contact a client and I say, listen, I need you to get this document back to me for, with a signature, or I need you to pay this invoice. What expectations do you have? And put that in your initial agreements. Same thing on the other side though. What should the client expect from you in terms of response time? If you don't intend to respond on a Saturday night, you should say that. I'll tell you, I'm a Girl Scout troop leader, which is obviously not the same as being a lawyer, right? But even then, working with a group of moms who tend to not understand that it's a volunteer position, sometimes they get a little bit salty if I don't respond to them. So I've recently set some expectations. I don't do Girl Scouts on Sundays. If you email me, if you call me, if you text me, you're not going to get a reply because it's a Sunday. And it's wild. People just, they're okay. It's a Sunday, I'm not going to get a reply. If you want to put something in your information that says you can expect a reply within a certain number of hours or days during regular business time, if you email us after hours, we'll get to you within hours or days after, the first, as soon, the first business hour of the business day, whatever it happens to be, however you're going to phrase that, but put that in there. Be consistent with your expectations. Actually share expectations with your clients. I think the best way to onboard is using a CRM where you get people going through a system of questions. You get all the information from them in a way that they like to provide it to you, either text or email. They don't have to fill out a lot of manual forms. Your staff doesn't have to fill out a lot of paper forms and then type data in, right? There's no, is that a T or an R type of questions, right? And then, they get automated welcome letters. I think that's the best way to do it. But whatever you're doing, improve your process to improve expectations with your clients, including that they are expected to pay you on time or services will be paused, right? Number 2, client communication. How can you improve your client communication? Best way to do this is to utilize templates and snippets in your emails, right? If someone emails you and you can't get back to them, the best thing to do is have a template that says, thank you for your email. I've received it. I will reply to you as soon as I can, just so they know the email was received. Use a template like that. But then specifically within TimeSolve, I want you to use the automated invoices and cover letters that are available there. I want you to use the automated documents, the document generation automation tools that TimeSolve has. I want you to be consistent with your client communication. I want you to be consistent with your branding, with your level of professionalism, and I want to offload the work on that, right? I want to create these in a way that will make sense for your firm. And then payment for services. It is crucial to keep a credit card on file. You have a lot of choices when it comes to who's going to process your credit cards, but there is a benefit to doing it with an integrated credit card processor. That's just part of the services. One, you're not paying a separate subscription for it if it's just an integrated tool like TimeSolve Pay. Number 2 is you don't have to maintain your own PCI compliance. That's huge. If you are personally keeping credit card numbers on file in your office to bill against whatever it happens to be, you have to be PCI compliant, which is a hard standard to meet for your average law firm. How are you protecting your computer screens? What's your password process? What happens if somebody walks away from their desk and keeps their computer on? Where are you storing this information? Who has access to it? It's challenging. So use tools that maintain PCI compliance for you. TimeSolve Pay, because it is fully integrated, is the best solution for you if you are a TimeSolve client. All right, so let's talk about SMART goals for a second here. No matter what area of your practice you need to improve, if it is client communication, if it is how you get payments from clients, if it is that initial client onboarding where you're accepting information from them, including payment methodology on file, no matter if it's communicating with clients about invoices and getting them out the door at the same time, because this is crucial, folks, at the same time every single month. If you need improvements on timing, if you need improvements on appearance, if you need improvements on the tools that you're using, no matter what, you need to define what you are doing as a SMART goal. And you do not need to define 7 different goals today, right? You can say vision board 2023, I'm going to improve in all of these areas, but you need to start with number 1, right? What is the most important thing that you need to fix right now? For most of us, it's just how we collect the actual money, right? For most of us, that's just putting a credit card methodology on file. It's a relatively easy thing to solve. If we can solve for that piece, the rest of it becomes much, much easier because we're actually getting paid, which means we're all generally a little bit less anxious. We're more relaxed at night, right? We make better choices. But no matter what you're doing, you need to make sure that your goals are SMART goals. What does that mean? Specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and timely. SMART. Pretty straightforward. When you are thinking about your process, I don't want you to say, I want my billing to be better. That is not specific at all. Instead, I want you to say, I want to bill at the same time every month. Okay, how am I going to measure that? Well, it's going to be the 23rd or it's not going to be the 23rd, right? Or if my goal is, I want my clients to understand my billing process better. Okay, fine, let's make that more specific. Let's say I'm going to improve my fee agreements to clearly define when payment is expected after an invoice is sent, and what my expectations for my clients are. That's much more specific, right? I don't want to say things are going to improve or things are going to get better. I want to be very specific with what I'm fixing, and I want to be able to measure it in some way. Now, some of it is a little bit subjective, like, is my language clearer? Sure, right? It's subjective, but you can measure it. You're a lawyer, for God's sake. You can do this, I promise. Number 3 is an actionable. Your goals need to have specific action steps, because if there is not a step to get from point A to point B, it's a wish, right? So all SMART goals have specific action steps. How am I going to accomplish this? If it's my documentation, I'm going to review what I have now. I'm going to outline ways I can make this better. I'm going to review this with a colleague to make sure that I'm being smart about what I'm saying and not trying to recreate the wheel on this. And I'm going to implement this by a specific date. Great. I've actually accomplished actionable and timely there, right? Not everything in your billing process is going to be as nebulous as improving language, but you can absolutely create action steps to get from point A to point B to point C to improve where you are in your process. And then realistic and timely. Understand where you are, folks. You're not going to, by the end of this month, totally outsource your billing to a third-party team and have complete clarity in your bills and have no billing disputes. It's not going to happen, right? It's not going to happen. But you can set realistic goals based on where you are. And again, it's about small steps. I'll tell you a brief story. When I was very small, my mother brought home Shel Silverstein's "A Light in the Attic." Oh no, "Where the Sidewalk Ends." And one of the poems in "Where the Sidewalk Ends" is a poem about a little girl named Melinda May. And Melinda May sat down to eat a whale, and she started at the tail, and she finished every bit of that whale, bit by bit, and she chewed it the way she should, because that's what little girls do who are good, or something like that. But she finished it eventually. She was 98 years old by the time she finished the whale, but one bite at a time. And I will tell you, improving your process might feel like a whale right now, but you can improve it one bite at a time. Take each bite slowly, chew thoroughly, do it the right way, and you will get through the whale. Lastly, make sure things are timely. You have to set a deadline for each one of these steps. If you don't have a deadline, it won't get done. It just won't. We know ourselves well enough to know that it won't get done. All right, let's talk about leveraging technology. That's our next piece here. I've talked about payments several times. If you are using TimeSolve, you need to use TimeSolve Pay. It's part of the solution you use. It's fully integrated, so when payments are received, it's recorded in QuickBooks in the right account. It's recorded in TimeSolve in the right matter. It's a bi-directional sync. It's fully integrated. You don't have to worry about it. It reduces your data entry time. It reduces your potential latitude for mistakes, right? And it certainly makes your life easier, right? It makes reconciliation just a breeze because things are pre-reconciled in your system, right? Number two, I really want you to use a CRM. In this case, I'd really like for you to integrate with Law Ruler. Law Ruler is going to connect to your website. It's going to look at your potential clients when they come to your website and they sort of knock on your digital front door. It's going to walk them through a pre-qualification process to get information from them. It's going to take information the same way you would get information from them in intake. All of this is going to reduce your staff's expenditures in time and in effort, allows clients to enter this information on their own, and can walk them all the way up to the point where they schedule a meeting with your team. Use a CRM. Not only does it put the onus on the client for accurate records, it also makes it really easy for you to just generate matter files based on the information that they have, get that information to the correct person on your team, whether that's you or someone else. But if you are a solo, having a CRM like this is like having a whole other employee. It is worth it. It is worth it. And if you have employees doing initial intake and consults right now, it frees up a lot of their time to provide higher level services to your staff. Right. And then lastly, e-signatures. Please connect with an e-signature tool. LexShare, LexSign is one of the best tools on the market. It integrates with TimeSolve, and it allows you to send documents out for signature directly from Outlook, which is a differentiator between that solution and some of the others. And it allows you to send requests in a way that if someone replies to you, comes directly back to your email rather than some do not reply email, right? It's beautiful, both from the law firm side and from the client side, how easy it is to use. But I would love for you to see that. Schedule a demonstration with the TimeSolve team to take a look at it. All right, we are a little bit beyond where I typically like to be for these things, but there was a lot of information that I wanted to make sure that we got to you today. If you have any questions, please feel free to call the TimeSolve team or email them at support@timesolve.com. You can definitely just go to timesolve.com. They have their little chat bot that you can interact with, but definitely schedule a call. It's necessary. But leverage that technology, improve your process, make your billing easier. TimeSolve is the best solution on the market to get that done for you. Easy time and billing, straightforward. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. If you have any questions, I'll take those in just a minute, but I want you to feel free to ask questions without those being recorded for all time. So if you are joining us in the on-demand presentation, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it, and we hope you join us again in the future.